Doubling your business is simpler than you think. I just got off the phone with Brandon Carter, one of my private clients and multi-seven-figure CEO who just had back-to-back record months, doing $456,000 and $536,000 respectively. I'm going to release a portion of this 1-hour strategy session where we recap exactly what he focused on to go from $250K a month when he first became a client to more than doubling his business in less than a year. And in the second part of the call, we game plan his next steps to take his business to 10 million a year within the next 12 months. If you find this valuable, just tap that like button. Let's dive in.
I'm gonna show you something, man. So this shit ended on a high note. I had to take it yesterday, so it was month to date. But yeah, you know, I mean, if this was a chart, if we were doing technical analysis like a stock motherfucker, right? That would be like a clear breakout.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. That's good. Proud of you, bro. We had the goal of hitting 500. We got 536 and we climbed.
Thanks, bro. Come on, man. We're going to really ball this year. I really like the business now. Like, I really enjoy my business. Like, I did, but now it's even more because I'm just so grateful that the team is in place where they don't need me every day.
So we've been working together for a little over a year. I'm curious, how have I contributed to that, if at all?
There's two things, I think, two main things. One is it's a lot easier to see not the frame, right? It's like you can see it from the outside, right? And you can see what's happening from the outside, and you're not in it, so you don't have the same emotion or attachments to things that I do, right? So your judgment's not as clouded me, and I think your insight was always just super helpful when I'm trying to figure something out. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things, and also just you've helped a lot with like certain things for me personally. But if I'm not right personally, then that's going to be reflected in a number of ways in the business. It's going to be reflected in my performance, if nothing else. And then in my performance, it's still the driver. Right? Like without me making those ads and making the content, like right, we don't hit the record months, right? And like it's difficult to put out good content and have your mind on it when you're in negative states. I've done it before because I'm a maniac, right? But it's very difficult, man. Like it takes a whole lot more work mentally to accomplish it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think you've helped me just figure some things out, make things easier. You've also given me just like good advice, good tips, like certain things. About to start a whole nother supplement company at one point. I think that your insight is just really I value. You know what I'm saying? You're like on the board of directors of my life. No, it's cool. It's just like you're really super smart. You know some shit. We believe a lot of the same things, but in the same way.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the same way, like you're not fucking weird about it.
Right.
Yeah. You know, waving crystals around and shit, or like collecting rocks or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah, we'll get to that on the next stage where we have the rock collection month. You can get a whole goddamn flatbed truck of fucking crystals.
That's what it takes to get $1 million a month, the fucking crystals. Yeah. That's what I've been missing, crystals.
Yeah.
But man, you've been great, man. You've been great. I really do appreciate, you know what I'm saying, everything you've helped me with in this time, sincerely.
Oh, yeah.
It's been helpful for sure.
So from here, though, in 14 months, we're at like $250 a month-ish. And you're like, we got to get to 500K. We just did 536. Now we got to raise the bar. Where are we going from here?
Yeah. And it's important that they were clear about it, too, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing that is special about these record months we've been having is that there's been no, like, event. Right? No fucking promotion, right? No fresh and fit, no sales. Like anybody can have not anybody, right? But you can have a record 100%. Month if you do a fucking 50%.
Yeah, right.
Everything, and you do become event thing, and then that's why it's so beautiful to me, right? Because we're doing the basic shit, we're doing the regular shit better. And I would like, not to say I won't do a conversion event or we can't do anything fucking wacky or a promo at some point, but the fact that we don't have to depend on it. I remember there was a time maybe 2017, 2018 where it's we had to do some wild shit to keep the lights on, right? Like we had to launch something, right? You know what I'm saying? Fuck, I need to come out with a new product or that law boss.
Right.
But the fact that we don't have to do that is, I don't know. It really feels like it's skill. Like we're becoming a better organization.
Yeah.
You know,
As Dean Graziosi said a few months ago when I was listening to him talk at an event, a lot of you guys think you have a business, but what you really have is a campaign. And so what you're saying is I went from campaign to an actual business. Yeah.
And a lot of it because that's how I was taught, right? Like one of my first mentors, he told me, he was on that shit. He was like, yo, man, have a launch every month. And he had money. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'll just do what you say. You know and it worked. I mean, but it was stressed, you know? And this has just been like smooth, man. So I think I just want to get better at the fundamentals, man. But so I say it all to say, whatever goal we set, I wanted to be in line with that. You know what I mean? So, man, I really want to make, I would, on paper, it's a stretch, 10 mil this year, right? When you met me, we did 3, right?
Right.
And 3 and some change. But I think 10 would be really stretching. But that's more than double what we did last year. Yeah. Right. And what I think it takes is like significantly more of what we're doing. So we're in the process we're calling it the ultimate baller protocol. Like in my heart, I believe I'm like super confident about it. Yeah. Like, it's worth a shot. Yeah. And then if it fails, if it doesn't do what we want it to do, then, you know, I'll be super surprised. But everything else is going, as long as we don't stop doing what we're doing to do that, right? We'll still be in good spot. Because it's going to take more than double. In my opinion, it's going to take something fucking big to make that happen. Unless I'm wrong, you might have some different insight from me, but there's going to have to be some sort of big catalyst to make that happen. That kind of shit just don't happen in my experience. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 3 income levers, only 3, right? So there's raise your prices, sell more to your existing customers, or get more customers. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what's working that has gotten the growth is get more customers. There's probably an opportunity to pull the other 2 to some degree. What's the other 2 is get more customers, raise your prices. And sell more to your existing customers. I'm looking at your closing rate right now. Like your closing rate is absurdly high. Yeah. And that sounds cool, but that tells me that you could continue to test price raises. Yeah. So I want your thoughts on this. In my mind, in my experience, salespeople have to be able to say that with cojones, right? And they're not all there yet. Right, you know what I'm saying. But so I know that would be an obstacle that I'll have to overcome with them. You know, mindset. You're super efficient, which is awesome. What I've learned is the close rate. If it's above 50%, your prices aren't high enough. Like you don't want them closing at 100%. Like you're at 72% last month. I know it sounds like it's a flex that like sales guys and people like closing rate's so high. It's just like I don't want to flex a high closing rate. I want to flex a high cash collected number. So if I can get there with less clients, meaning less headaches and more money, if that means a lower closing rate, so be it. I don't give a shit. So you're at like 70% closing rate, and I'm sure everybody's we just fucking close. That's awesome, but it's like too high. Y'all aren't charging enough. Because keep in mind, at scale, like at $1 million a month, at the current price point, that's an absurd amount of people, right? That you have to have. So I'm saying, like, how do you want to scale? Do you want to be the guy who now has an enormous customer service issue? Or maybe not. I'm just saying, like, it will become a problem. So I'm trying to scale with less people, right? And so there's 2 ways to do that, is sell more to your existing people or raise prices. And if you're on the customer acquisition thought process, which is great, I think that's phenomenal because you supply and demand. Guess what? We only have so many spots, and I have 48 billion followers, and I'm the most famous guy ever, and there's a line out the door. That's where you just keep raising prices. It's supply and demand. Right now, your volume tells me the demand is there. You're, I think, offering a bit too much supply in terms of volume of spots. Your business is just going to be healthier with less bullshit, less chargebacks and whatever as you scale, the less people that are involved. Or you just become the guy who has 60 fucking coaches that work for him, and then you have to have somebody who manages the coaches and QAs 60 fucking coaches that are QAing 6,000 clients.
sounds cool on paper, but that sounds like a fucking logistical nightmare. Now, if you're like, okay, I won't have to deal with it because team and other people and delegation, cool. But if shit hits the fan, it all comes back on you. So I'm not saying, warning, don't fucking do that. I'm just saying, picture the business at $1 million a month with not raising prices and just getting enormous hordes of volume. And if you're cool with that, I'm not saying don't be, I'm just saying it's a consideration. And before I went there, I would just prefer less people and more money. That means more money and less bullshit, pretty much, which also equates to more profit because you don't have to pay a horde of fucking coaching fleet that probably are going to suck because they're not you.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And employees, I'm not a big fan of having employees, but you got to do it.
Yeah. So it's how many of those do you want to deal with?
Yeah.
So
right now it's 30.
So if you double everything, you're probably not going to need 30 more. You're probably going to need 50 more because of the dilution of the further they get away from you at the top and the more levels of middle management exist. That's where you have the bullshit that exists in these heavily bloated companies in corporate America is because of exactly that. The dilution of efficiency just starts to disappear the further down the chain it gets. So I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying things to consider as you want to double. If you're doing 10 mil to net 3 versus 7 mil and net 4 with less people, I would prefer option B, even though my Stripe screenshot flex looks cooler on option A. 10 million a year.
Not ego. Yeah.
That's $833,000 a month.
That is different. Yeah.
Right.
Different.
And so at that current, right now, your cash LTV is $4,478. So you need fucking hundreds of people. You know what I mean? That's a lot of management.
I know. That's a lot of people.
It's 186 a month. Doable. Right. It's 6 a day. But now you have 168 new clients. Realistically, if your program's really, really good and pretty leveraged, one account manager / coach could handle like 50. At least that's what I've found. Like in our agency, when we had 20 account managers, each of them maxed out at about 30 clients. Our program right now is pretty leveraged in where we have 400 and we have 2 guys that pretty much run the show because the whole thing is so offloaded. So it also depends on how you structure your shit. Let's just say it was 100 per guy. Now you're at 2270 divided by 100. You need 22 coaches, theoretically, right? 2 is a lot. You know what I mean? Like 10 is a fuckload. I don't know. Maybe you'll have the company that does it really, really well. There's a lot of points of failure because you have a lot of human error that you're exposing yourself to, and that eats into profit. So that's where you get these companies that scale a lot, but don't make a lot, and their margins just fucking disappear is because you keep throwing people at the problem, and before you know it, you're the guy who has a $15 million a year company and you're making less than you made when you were doing $6 million a year. And you're like, what the fuck happened? That's why it happens.
Yeah, that is why it happens.
I would just look and forecast to make sure that whatever it is that you do, decide what lever to pull, that at scale, you're not the guy who it like implodes on itself because it just got so big so fast inefficiently, and then the whole thing crumbled because of some bullshit reason that involved a lot of people and a lot of headaches. Things to think about.
Yeah. No, it is something to think about, and because especially you make a good point, especially if this ultimate baller project goes as I believe it will, then the demand is going to be so high. I mean, there's going to be so many people coming in. I don't know, man. Like the way shit is working, like the more content I put out, the more leads we have, and the easier the sales are. Mm-hmm. Right, that's why it's so high.
It's like eggs this year. I don't know if you saw any of that. I guess there was an egg shortage or some shit.
I've been hearing about it.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. So we're like, eggs are super expensive. Why? Because supply went down and demand is the same. So therefore prices go up. So if you pull the demand lever and the supply remains the same, then prices have to go up.
Prices have to go up. I like that. I like what you're saying, man. Oh, you got to go. It's all good, man. Thank you, man.
I'll talk to you soon. Hit me up if you need anything.
Peace.